Hello and welcome to the Alpha Software Demo and Q&A webcast. I'm Dave McCormick, VP of Product Management here at Alpha Software, and I've got a very excellent presentation for you today. In fact, I'm joined today by Bob Moore, our VP of Mobility. Bob has been working on a feature which doesn't just apply to mobile applications, but also very much applies to web applications as well, and that is using push notifications via the browser. But before I go okay, excellent. I was about to ask, could someone do a quick AV check for me? And someone has actually already said that they can see my screen and stuff. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right, so we're going to get started. First, let me introduce Bob. Hello, Bob. Are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me okay?
I am. And the reason we've had Bob here is he's here to answer any questions that you may have. So I'm going to do a little presentation on Bob's work. Hopefully I don't mess it up, but fortunately, Bob's here to keep me honest. And then I'm going to show you a quick video, just one of the three that Bob has made, and we'll be here for questions. So probably the first question is, what the heck are push notifications via the browser? Well, we've had push notifications in Alpha Anywhere for a long time, but you probably are familiar with mobile push notifications. In fact, this is an application that Bob built. I don't even know if he remembers this one, but this is almost going 10 years back. I found this here on YouTube, in which we had push notifications built in. And a push notification, of course, is a message that is pushed from the server onto the device to notify them of something. Now, using them in web applications, in mobile applications, is pretty normal. You see that all the time. Things pop up telling you've got a new email message, you've got a new text, or maybe you have a particular browser app like Amazon or something like that that pops up. But this is also possible to do inside a browser. So here on this screenshot, imagine I'm here on the Wikipedia page, but I had subscribed to push notifications in an Alpha Anywhere application. So even though I'm not on my Alpha Anywhere application page, I can still have a push notification come up like we have here. And it can have a name, it can have text and things like that. It shows you where it comes from. And it can also have a link so that when you click on it, it opens up a browser window and takes you to a particular place. One other very cool thing is that push notifications can be tailored. You can send them to specific individuals, or you can send them to entire groups of users. It's up to you. So we're going to go down and I'll just explain a couple of the use cases that you may have. So one thing you might want to do is let people know whether or not there's going to be system downtimes or maintenance alerts. Like if you're planning on taking your system down for an hour at night or something like that, you could let all of your users know via a push notification to their browser, even if they weren't logged into your application at the time. You might also want to let this, if you have an e-commerce site or say a SaaS application, you might want to let people know if an order has shipped or if a credit card is about to expire in the case of a SaaS application. Or you might want to remind people that they signed up for a live stream like today and a browser notification might pop up. I was beginning to give that a thought maybe for the future. You can also let people know that new content or features have been released, or you could do some sort of gamification or let people know about price drops. So for gamification, you might say, hey, congratulations, you've logged data for the last 20 days, you were in compliance or something like that, and let people know that way in a notification. So let's take a look at the integrator that we're using for this, and that is OneSignal. OneSignal is a unified messaging platform. So it doesn't do just push notifications to the browser. It does push notifications to web applications. It also does SMS messages, and it does email as well, all in one package. So usually when I introduce something like this, especially to this group, the first question is, well, how much does it cost? Well, actually, it's really, really inexpensive. So you can start with a very generous amount of pushes and emails for free as a free account, and then it doesn't actually escalate that quickly after that. So it's a very economical thing to add to your application, and it's very impactful. So when you create a OneSignal account, you're given a dashboard, and in that dashboard, you can set up your push notifications as well as email and SMS templates. And with push notifications in particular, you'll see that you have a wide variety of platforms that you can push messages to. So web is one of them, but if people have got like an Amazon Kindle, you can push to those. You can push to the Mac operating system, Chrome, Apple iOS, the Windows operating system, as well as Huawei, the Chinese phone manufacturer types of devices. So let's keep going. When you set this up, and I'm not going to go far into this because I'm going to show you a video on this, but you can really customize it, let people decide how the notification should appear, and even decide how they should be asked whether or not they would like to subscribe. So for example, a typical way that one is set up, and this is the default, is that after 10 seconds, no matter what page they land on, say on your site, a notification will appear asking them if they would like to subscribe for updates or emails or SMSs or anything like that. You can set that up as you choose. So this is what we have done in terms of integration, and it's going to make a little bit more sense after I show you the video, but we have integrated the OneSignal service worker. That's a critical component to make this all work, and it's now built into Alpha Anywhere. It works with the Alpha software security framework. And specifically, if you're using the Genie, it'll even create some additional fields in the user extended information field for storing your OneSignal user ID. What this lets you do is it lets you, if you know this external, this OneSignal ID, it lets you send messages to particular individuals. You can always send messages to groups, but it's nice to be able to say choose a particular person. Maybe that person with a credit card is expired, or a person who hasn't logged in a very long time, and you want to let them know something. It works with web apps. It also works with PWAs. And it works with the Firebase apps, including the use of Firebase authentication. And Bob has produced 3 really nice videos around this. The first one we're going to watch is the introduction. These other 2 you can watch on your own. They will be up shortly on our YouTube channel. They're on Bob's YouTube channel right now. And I also have some bit.ly links here for them. Let me just go ahead and grab those. Escape out of here. And I'm going to just paste those into the chat window so that you have them. So again, these will be on our site soon, but if you can't wait, here they are. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and show you the orientation or the introduction video that Bob has put together. It runs about 15 minutes. Now, in GoToWebinar, occasionally some folks have said, hey, the video doesn't play for me. If that's the case, just go watch this first one, this first bit.ly video, the one which has got the 4D H3 VWA link, which I put here as the first one, the introduction. And then we will return here in 15 minutes, and we will go over a few more points, and we'll be here to answer questions. So let me go ahead and queue up that video for you. There it is. And of course, you can keep asking questions in the GoToWebinar control panel at any time.
Hi, this is Bob Moore with Alpha Software, and today we're going to take a look at a new integration that we've just completed with Alpha Anywhere. This is an integration with OneSignal. OneSignal is a messaging platform that allows you to do web push notifications. So this is what we've just recently added into the product, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to configure OneSignal to work with Alpha and how to configure Alpha to work with OneSignal. And then we'll take a look at a couple of examples. You can use push notifications within just a simple web app. You can use them in an application where you're using the authentications for login, and in that case we can record who's logged in and store that in the OneSignal database. And also this works with Alpha's integration of progressive web apps. So all some cool new stuff, and let's take a look at how we set that up. So what we're going to do here is take a look at, I'm signed into OneSignal. You can set up a free account there. It's not a problem at all. I'm going to go ahead and create let's create a new app. So in our app, we'll say our OneSignal app name will be, let's say Alpha Test App 2. and we're going to do a web integration here. So this is for web push notifications. This will work on all major browsers. It will also work on Android and iOS devices. On iOS, you have to make sure that the user adds the application to the home screen, but other than that, that's the only requirement there. So let's just call this alpha test 2. Site URL. Here for testing purposes, use localhost. So you can use the development server here for testing, which is great. Makes life easy. A couple of things you have to be aware of as you're working with it, but I'll go through all of that. And then you have to make sure that you enable local testing here. So treat HTTP localhost as HTTPS for testing. Okay. We're going to go ahead and set a default icon as well. So let's go choose our file, and it should be 256 by 256 pixels, so that should work well. And yeah, then we'll just go ahead and save that. And from there, the next thing you need to do is you've got to, well, you could say, well, what do you want to do? What do you want to show? So in our case, it's got a default push slide prompt. I'm going to just go ahead and use that. It's going to look something like this. Thanks for subscribing. You can change these messages. You can make these things look any way you want, but that's fine for our testing purposes here today. One of the things that's very important to do is to set the service workers up to conform to the way that we're going to present this application. Now, and the reason we have to do this very specifically is because to support progressive web apps, which also use a service worker, we have to define the scope of the different service workers, because in a progressive web app, you end up with 2. So just to be consistent, do this for all of your OneSignal integrations. So here, use OneSignal here. So the path to the service worker file is going to be OneSignal. The name of the file itself is OneSignal SDKWorker.js, and the same with the updater. So they're both exactly the same. And then down here, again, OneSignal. So you want all of your apps that are going to use OneSignal to look like this. Okay, and then we will add in all the required files to make all this magic happen. And we'll say, yeah, a notification should remain on the screen until clicked, and we're going to go ahead and save. Now, once we save that, it's going to show us our web configuration, and the important thing to pick up here is this app ID right here. Okay, you don't need to do any of this. We take care of that for you. So just get all you, and you don't need to add any of this code either. We do all that for you. So we just need this app ID right here. So let's go ahead and copy that. And now we're going to, so copy that. And from there, yeah, finish. We can finish up. Now, next we'll go into Alpha Anywhere. So let's minimize that, and we'll go into Alpha. And what we're going to do here is I'm just going to create a new project. So our new project is going to be OneSignal test. We'll say OneSignal. Oh, let's get that right. Test 1, and that's fine. And what we're going to do is let's just go ahead and create a new component here, web component, and let's see what we're going to do. Okay. This is going to be a simple component here. And all we're going to do is I'll put in a panel card. We'll put in a header on that just to identify what it is. This is just an experimental app, really. And then from here, let's go ahead and put in something to indicate what it is. So static text here. We'll just call it OneSignal push test. And go OK with that, and put that up into the header, and then put the header in. We'll line it center line so that that looks good. Now the other thing that I want to do here, let's minimize that for a second. In my project properties, this is important. This is where you enable the support for OneSignal. So if you come down here, you'll see OneSignal and enable it, and then this is where you enter in your app ID. So let's go ahead and paste our app ID right in there and then click on OK. Now we're going to go back to our component here. Let's go ahead and save this component, and we'll just call this test1. And it's going to, now notice when I saved the component that it looked in the project file and said, oh, OneSignal is in use here. So it's going to add the required OneSignal service worker file to this project. So just say OK. And just to show you what it's going to look like, I mean, it's real basic. It's just a app that's going to say OneSignal push test, but we've included all of the code to run and to work with OneSignal at this point. That looks good. So let's go ahead and just get rid of that over here. So now you can see the OneSignal folder here. And if you open it up in here, you'll see the JavaScript. That's the OneSignal service worker. So we pulled that down and added that to the project. So you don't have to do anything there. And this component will have all of the code that's required to initialize OneSignal and to install it and get it all up and running. Okay. So in order to test this out, now we're going to run it on our local server. So this is going to be our development server here. And here it's set up. I'm just using, so HTTP, I'm going to use port 81 here. Nothing magical here at all. Let's go ahead and start the server. So we'll get that going. And what we're going to do is let's go open that component up. And we'll say we want to save a page. And yeah, that's fine. And I'll call this index. So it'll be our base page here. Index 85W. Save that. Close that guy out. And so now we see our index A5W page. So we've got our OneSignal directory here. We got our index page here. We got a component here. One thing that's important to do here is you're going to want to publish this OneSignal folder to the web root. So just right click on it and publish it to the local web root. And now everything should be all set in order to work with live test. If you hadn't done that, per the configuration that we set up on the OneSignal dashboard, it's looking for the service worker in the web root. And if we just run live test, then the OneSignal service worker gets installed in the live test folder, which is not where we want it. It can also be there, it doesn't matter, but it's got to be in the web root, and that's what we just did. Now I can run in live test. So let's go ahead and try it and see what happens. So live test, we're going to run with the development server. So I've got the development server selected up in here. Go ahead and run that. And we're publishing those files out. And here's our application now running. And we can see localhost port 81, and there's my application. Now if you come over here and just click on this, you can look at the permissions that have already been granted to localhost 81. So what this means is that notifications have already been enabled here. And that's probably because I was previously testing on something else. Okay. So for our testing purposes, we don't want that to be there. We want to actually have to be able to grant the permissions. All right. So what we've got to go to site settings here and delete the data and reset permissions. And you only need to do this if you've already granted permissions to this site. So now we can go and come back over here and take a look at our permissions, and we can see that that's gone away now. And another thing we can do is if we hit Control-Shift-I, that's going to bring up our debugger. And if you come into local storage and local host, you'll notice that there are no values in here at all. So here we can see that that this is good to go. This is good for testing right now. So let's go ahead and we'll just refresh the page, and you're going to see some things happen. Let's go into console, and we'll see the OneSignal library loaded here. Okay, and then when we come back over to the application tab, and we can see the page views, and now we see this is the prompt from OneSignal. subscribe to our notifications for the latest news and updates. You can disable at any time. Now, when I say subscribe, you're going to see a little message come in over here. Here, let me move this so you'll be able to see it. So let's go ahead now and subscribe. And now it's asking, this is the browser actually verifying that I want to allow this. So I say, okay, allow. And then over here, thanks for subscribing. That's your first message that just came in. Thanks for subscribing from a local host. And I'll click on that and off it will go. So this application is now set up for push notifications. And the thing that's interesting is this doesn't need to be running in order for those notifications to come in. So here, let's do this. We'll just copy this and we'll close it. We'll come into our settings here in OneSignal. We're going to go into the push messages and we're going to send out our first push. So let's do that, and we'll just call our message, our campaign is going to be our Hello World campaign. We're going to send it to all subscribers, and just say, again, Hello World, and say hi there. Now, you could also upload images. You can also have a URL that when the user clicks on that, it goes to that URL. So let's say you had some special, we just released a new tutorial, or we just released this new video or whatever, you know, it could go directly there. And let's go ahead and review and send. And send the message. So off it goes. And down here, we should see it. There it is. Hello world. Hi there, local host, and so on. So that's our push notification coming in from OneSignal. Now, if you come down here into subscriptions, we should have one subscription. So that would be yeah, and here it is right here. And this is when it happened. This is the OneSignal ID and the subscription ID. And let's go look at users. It's another thing that now this, we don't know who this user is. It's just some random person using this, but you'll notice that, you know, they log the IP address, they log the session, and so on. Now, when we include login, we actually put the user's name in here, and we assign an external ID. The external ID is important because that user, if they use email or they use SMS or in-app, which is used in native mobile applications, that external ID will be the same for all of them. So you can target, like, you can start out with push and then send off email and then send off SMS. So it's really kind of an amazing messaging platform. They call it a unified messaging platform. So anyway, that's a quick overview of the integration, and in the next video I'll take it a little bit deeper. We'll take a look at login and how that works, and then we'll take a look at how to use this within a progressive web app.
All right, and we are back. So hopefully you found that interesting. And often with brand new stuff, we don't get a lot of questions because you're still thinking of the questions. If you do have questions later, go ahead and send them to guides, GUIDES, @alphasoftware.com. In the meantime, I had a couple other questions come in, which I will get to right now. But again, if you've got any questions for Bob, he's here on the line with us right now, so he's ready to go. So I'll give you a minute or two to type in anything there. Let's start with the first question, which is, can you explain how to populate a free-form layout using a list control as the data source? So let me pop over here into our documentation. We'll take a look at the free-form layout, which is one of our container controls. And we'll open this up. And so a free-form layout is kind of cool because it lets you be very flexible with how you lay out your fields and things. You can just use a lot of HTML as opposed to laying them out field by field. You can put them into a free-form, say, edit region. So the recommendation for this, if you're using the list control, is to use a form view or a view box control to do the freeform layout. Also keep in mind, list control itself allows you to do a freeform layout. So when you are in the properties for the list control, one of the properties is whether or not it should just be a regular columnar or whether or not it should be freeform, and you can choose freeform. So I'm happy to do a demo on this next time we meet, and I will show you in it live. But for now, I'm just going to point you right here to this documentation. Let me just grab the share link for that in case you don't have it. And I will place that in chat. The other question that came in was about storage connection strings. And the question was, I'm familiar with storage connection strings, but I've noticed that there is a local drive connection as an option. So that is in fact the case. When you're building a local connection string, which you'll typically do, say, to an Amazon S3 bucket. We've shown many examples of doing that. Like you're going to save images and things like that. You're going to use Amazon S3. But if you wanted to keep them on your server, which you can do if you are not on the cloud, keep in mind, doesn't know what disk to find things on because it doesn't necessarily run from the same machine each time. But if you're running it yourself, you're running it with IIS on your own machine, you're running it with a classic server on your own machine, disk is certainly an option. When you choose disk, you would think, oh, all I'd have to do is give it a path, right? Like, just where on my hard drive do I want to store it? And of course, that is one of the things that it asks you for. But it's also asking you for a username and a password. And going back here into documentation, the reason it's doing that is because it wants to give you, scroll up to where it is, disconnection string. It wants you to set up a connection, basically a Windows access connection over your network. And the suggestion is that you set up that network drive so that it's shared against the machine as opposed to a particular individual. And then basically the machine and whatever the credentials are for the machine get filled into Alpha Anywhere when it connects to that location. Again, I'd be happy to do a demonstration for next time around and show you how to use the disk stored connection because it actually is pretty cool and keeps stuff stored outside of your web root. And I will show you how to do that. So let's see, do we have any questions here for this? Yes, here's the question. With OneSignal integration on an Alpha cloud-based app, I'm assuming that most of the work, most of the work is on the client browser, so it does not eat compute units. Is that correct? I'll turn that over to you, Bob.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, sure can.
Okay. Well, you can. There's an API that OneSignal has, so that you can communicate from the server to your OneSignal dashboard or your OneSignal application. So, for example, you might want to send out, a bunch of messages to people when something happens or whatever, and that can all happen server side. But in general, you can also do those messages in your OneSignal dashboard the way I demonstrated, and that's all client side stuff. So yeah, it's not impacting the server there at all.
Right, and the messages themselves go between OneSignal and the clients. So while you might make an API call saying, hey, could you send everyone this message, your Alpha Cloud isn't connecting to each of them individually. It's going through OneSignal. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, you would be if you were trying to use the API to communicate from the server right back to OneSignal, and then let's say you're going to send out like 50 messages or something.
Right.
All of that would happen from OneSignal to the client. So it's all communicating with that service worker client side.
Right. Right, so it uses basically no alpha compute units. And in fact, one of the example videos, the third one here, Bob's put together a really cool example using Firebase. So Firebase actually acts as the authentication, in other words, the username and password authentication, and it also as the backend storage. So it doesn't use the Alpha server at all. It's very interesting sort of PWA that he's put together. Definitely worth checking that one out as the last one. The other video that Bob did was using push with the Alpha Security Framework and showing you how when someone logs in, it actually stores their OneSignal user ID in the extended user information table in Alpha Anywhere so that you can refer back to them and message that person individually later on. Is there a good source of all this working as UX examples? As a matter of fact, I believe there is a GitHub repository. Bob, is that right? For your, at least for the last one, for the push with PWA, is that correct?
There will be. I haven't published that
yet.
You
haven't published it yet. Okay, it's on its way.
That will be there. There's the Firebase PWA. It's called Alpha Notes. Is the application I built.
Right.
And there's a GitHub repo for that. I have not published the stuff that I did with the OneSignal integration, but I will push that up there. That's going to be there. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Excellent. It looks like we have run out of questions, and I have two things to demonstrate for next week based on questions that were asked today, so thanks very much. And so first of all, I want to thank you, Bob, very much for being here and putting together this really cool integration. I can see a lot of different uses for this, and I'm looking forward to other people using it as well and showing it off. I also want to thank everyone else who showed up here today, and hope to see you at our next Alpha Software demo and Q&A webcast. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.